Well, hello everyone. Today you find me in the small village of Great Bircham, which is in the northwest corner of Norfolk, about 12 miles northeast of King's Lynn, and at the Church of St Mary the Virgin, which dates back to the 12th century. You may wonder why I'm here today. I'm normally out walking or doing World War II stuff. Well, this is actually World War II stuff. And in particular, I've come to see this little plot in the corner here. It's a Commonwealth War graves plot. It contains nearly 80 graves. I don't know what that means, 79 I should think. But in particular, we're going to have a look at 11 Luftwaffe graves. And they date from 1939 to 1941. So we're going to have a look at them and a little bit of history about the pilots or the aircraft that lie here. Lots of sacrifice, which is unusual in such a small area, but it's actually happened in 1946 by King George VI. It was the first Commonwealth War grave to be opened post-World War II. They come from a variety of backgrounds. There's a lot of New Zealanders in here, mainly RAF, I think virtually all RAF, and as usual, immaculate, like any Commonwealth War grave that we have any around us. Very, very tidy. His name is Emil Rodel. He was born on 20th of August 1910, and his plane came down on the 6th of December 1939. He was actually on an HE-115B, which is a Heinkel. It's a float plane, and it was laying mines over the Wash when it became, they believe, disorientated on the way back home. And it actually flew inland and hit the Chain Home Low radar station at RAF West Beckham, which is near Sheringham. In fact, the aircraft landed on the beach at Sheringham, and as you can imagine, being that early in the war, it drew quite a lot of attention. The other two crew members were initially buried at Sheringham and then later buried in the German cemetery at Cannock Chase, and Rodel has remained here ever since. If you can see this very clearly, this is a 115, similar to the one that he was flying in when they had the accident and crashed on the beach. He was actually an observer on this, and that's what it looked like in the air. It comes into view nice and clear. As you can see, this is the remains of the aircraft in the foreground here. Much interest with the public. But if you know Sheringham or Sheringham Seafront, that is the old lifeboat station. So it actually clipped the radar station, which is up here, way back inland, and ended up crashing on the beach. As you can tell by the date on this one, this is actually a Battle of Britain casualty, Bruno Schipitzi. He's flying in a Dornier 17, and they were shot down by a flying officer, Hawkins, and crashed into the sea off Skegness. His body was washed ashore on 9th of September, on the date that's shown on the stone rather than when the plane crashed, which was the 21st of August. Another one of his crew members was actually buried at sea off of Yarmouth. This is Heinrich Kaschner, second of the Battle of Britain casualty dates. And he was also flying in Dornier 17, separate to the other guy. He was shot down by two people, Pilot Officer Lund and Brown of 611 Squadron, whilst on mission over the east coast. The aircraft crashed into the sea off Skolthead near Brancaster. Lieutenant Kruger and Oberfelder Bostol's bodies washed ashore at Brancaster and were buried at Catton Churchyard. Kachula, another member of the crew, was buried at West Runton, and all three were actually reinterred in Cannock Chase after the war. Rudolf Farth, Commonwealth War Graves Commission states he was KIA on the 22nd of August 41. Crew member on an HE-111 bomber, shot down by Cat's Cunningham in a Beaufighter from 604 Squadron at nearby RAF Coltishall. Crashed into the sea northwest of Wales next to sea at 10:05 PM on the 22nd of August. The two other crew members were missing, and Farth's body washed ashore and was buried on the 31st of August 1941. Carl Lesmolman was actually killed on the 9th of March 1941 whilst in a Ju-8080 which took off from Schiphol in the Netherlands. And was shot down by Spitfires in 266 Squadron and crashed into the sea off Skegness on the 9th of March 1941. And it was on after a sortie to Newcastle. His body was picked up in the sea on the 27th of April near Wootton on the Norfolk coast, and actually that's the date it's actually stated buried. He was actually killed prior to that. Heinz Biesterfeld, also killed on a different date to what it says on the stone here. 26th of May 1941, and his body washed ashore on the 29th of June 41, and he's possibly shot down near Haysborough by a Hurricane of 151 Squadron. He also took off from Schiphol in Holland. Helmut Seidel, also on a Heinkel HE-111, shot down by a Flight Lieutenant Gibson DFC and Sergeant R. James of 29 Squadron in a bow fight after an attack on Glasgow, believe it or not. It crashed into the sea 1.5 miles off of Ingoldsmells near Skegness at 10 PM on the 2nd of the 6th. And all crew were lost, and obviously with longshore drift his body ended up probably being washed up on the Norfolk coast nearby here. Gunther Truckenbrot, a crew member on HE-111, was shot down by a bow fighter from 25 Squadron, flown by Sergeants Gigney and Sharner near South Reston, which is near Alford in Lincolnshire, on the 5th of June 41. Pilot Hans Werner Pass was taken POW, and the rest of the crew bailed out over the sea and drowned. All but one, Kemba, were buried at Great Bircham. All the crew were buried on different dates, and I suppose they washed up at different times. The rest of the crew were Horst Walther, although they came obviously from the same aircraft, they washed up at different times and they're buried in different areas of the graveyard. And Paul Webber, who's just down here. As you can hear, it's much quieter in here now inside the church. Here's the information boards all pertaining to the airmen outside in the graveyard. There's quite a lot actually here. So if you do come this way, always swing into the church. You can learn a lot more here. As the lady told me, there's a book with information in it. Everybody, not just the Germans. That's the chap whose grave is just outside the door. Ju-88. Heinkel, the float plane, the 115, and the